Now here's your host, Jason Voorhees and Aaron Savage.
Ooh, yeah!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports and Metal Podcast. We are your hosts. This is Aaron Savage. With me, as always, my partner in crime, Mr. Jason Voorhees.
What's going on?
Not much, brother. How's everything? Anyway, before we get started, support for tonight's episode of Sports and Metal is brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped is the best in below-the-waist grooming. They are the below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. They offer precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their fourth-generation lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. And I got to tell you, Jay, I'm one of the first people to use it, and it has changed my life. I'm sure we've all been there where we've had a little accident and you get your balls caught in the trimmer. It's not fun for anybody. But their precision technology has changed it for the best. I don't have these problems anymore. And I must say, I just got in the mail today my brand new Weed Whacker from Manscaped. This is for your nose hairs and your ear hairs. Haven't used it yet, but after the success I've had with their other products, I had to try this one. So next week, I'll let you know what I think of this. So if you go to manscaped.com, at Manscaped on all social medias, you use promo code SNM, that's the letters SNM for Sports and Metal, you're going to get 20% off plus free shipping. So Manscaped, check them out. World's best in below-the-waist grooming. And your balls will thank you. Trust me. Mine already have. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our other sponsor, at La Terrain Watches. Use promo code at checkout at La Terrain. You can go to their website, la-touraine.com. You're going to use promo code SNM, same as the letters SNM for Sports and Metal, and you're going to receive 10% at checkout. You're not going to want to miss these watches. They're beautifully handcrafted. They're unbelievable. My mom even bought one. So LaTerrain.com. Check it out. Promo code SNM. Anyway, brother, why don't we get started? How's everything, Jay?
I'm doing awesome. How about you?
Good, man. Good, man. So obviously we're going to start off. You know, it's been the big news of the past couple weeks in sports. John Gruden, fired by the Raiders. Some emails leaked. Basically, the NFL was doing an investigation of the Washington football team. I'm not going to get into the whole business with them, but there's been a lot of stuff, going on as far as behind the scenes, inappropriate conduct in that organization. So, during that investigation, going through the emails, they came across all these emails from John Gruden. Before I get into it, Jay, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, my thoughts are that it was disgusting, irresponsible, and he most definitely, he being John Gruden, deserved to be, fired. That being said, in my opinion, the John Gruden issue is a microcosm in the scheme of things of a much larger scale problem, and that is the NFL. Because to me, the NFL stands for hypocrisy. Because, let's face it, John Gruden's not the first, and he's not the last that this will happen to. However, to me, I think the NFL misses the boat when it comes to these kind of things because it's not consistent. There's not a consistent model. So, we can go through the line of people, in the past that have said, remarks or made remarks that were, in the wrong, racial, it could be anything. But there's plenty of examples where the people haven't been fired. And that's where I have the problem. Like, it's not the fact that John Gruden shouldn't have been fired. He should. But there has to be more consistency. Like, and I know you're going to get into this because I know, we talked offline and you have a lot of things to say about it. I don't necessarily think this is an example of cancel culture. I think it's more of an example of the NFL picking and choosing, who gets punished and who doesn't. That's
Well,
where I'm at.
let me chime in. Let me chime in. I disagree with you. I think it's a prime example of cancel culture. And you're right. It is like kind of like the NFL picking and choosing who gets punished. But that's a direct result of cancel culture and the NFL, catering to that culture. So for those who aren't in the know, the Redskins were being the Redskins. See, look at that. I'm going to get canceled. The Washington football team was being investigated for inappropriate conduct. And Bruce Allen, former president of the Washington football team, is a longtime friend of John Gruden. They worked together when Gruden was the coach of the Raiders, in the early 2000s. So they have a long-time friendship. So in the investigation of the Washington football team, they came across these emails from Gruden. And these emails were, going back to like 2008 to 2011, something like that, when Gruden was an analyst for Monday Night Football, ESPN. He wasn't coaching at the time. And in the emails, it was during the potential lockout. And it was like at the start of all the excessive safety measures that the NFL started to take, to prevent concussions and stuff. And Gruden said he was pissed off about it. And he thought it was like the pussification of the sport. And he said all the excessive safety measures were turning parents off to allowing their kids to play football. So he used the FAGG, OT word to describe Goodell. I'm not condoning it. He said he called him a clueless anti-football PUSSY, stuff like that. He said inappropriate stuff. What else did he say in the emails? I know there was some stuff that he got called racist for. What's his face? The former president of the National Players Association. He's black, and supposedly John Gruden made some statement about his lips, but it wasn't like obvious, but it could have been construed in a racist way. But Gruden defended it as saying he calls anybody that has like a loose lips or tells lies, this term that he used, which I can't remember off the top of my head what it was. Long story short, I'm not condoning anything Gruden did, but my problem with the whole thing is these were private emails between two people. And my opinion is if you went through all the emails of almost anybody associated with the NFL, you're going to find reasons to call somebody racist, or you're going to find reasons to say somebody's misogynistic or homophobic. I mean, you go to any NFL locker room, you probably heard worse terms. And my point is, you can't just take one guy from emails 10 years ago that weren't supposed to be public because of some other investigation, and he becomes the scapegoat and gets fired. Again, I'm not defending John Gruden. My problem is just in the fact that it's almost like it became a witch hunt. It was a hit job, it almost seems like. It almost seems like it was a hit job to take John Gruden down. It's private emails. Where do you draw the line? Thank you, Adam. What's up, Phil? What does he say? Is anyone surprised by Gruden emails and the language? I am not. I'm not either, Phil. I'm not defending him. My point is, I guarantee you, black, white, red, all these guys are using inappropriate language. And then you guys are Eagles fans. DeShaun Jackson basically said stuff supporting Adolf Hitler just a year ago on Instagram and got a slap on the wrist and some Jewish players saying, oh, I'd like to educate him so he learns what he said was inappropriate. What? All John Gruden did is say something that every man has said 1,000 times, right or wrong, until recently. I'm not going to pretend I never used those words when I was growing up with my friends. I'm not going to lie to you and pretend I didn't. Was it wrong? Sure. I used the R word too. Oh, you're a I'm not going to say it because it's get me in trouble, but we all have said things that we shouldn't have said. We all have done it. You can't continue like this. I've even seen some ridiculous stuff going on about this. Let me pull it up here. So I was reading an article. It was on, let me pull it up, Jay. It's crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy. Let me pull this up.
Well, while you're doing that.
Well, hold on. 538. It's a website. There was an article on 538, and it was about the Raiders. When John Gruden was hired to be their coach, they had something like 80% black players, 79%, which was the most in the NFL at the time. And the league average was something along the lines of 65 to 67%. So they actually did an article that showed in the years that Gruden coached the Raiders that the percentage of black players on the team went down to 67%, and that paints him as a racist. So were all the other teams that were at 67% racist? And then the article went forward to point out that certain teams, such as the New York Giants, who had black GMs, had the highest ratio of black players. couldn't that be construed as racist too against white people? I don't think it is, but if you're going to go there, where do you draw the line? It's out of control. It's out of control. That's my opinion. It's not to defend John Gruden. I honestly think he's a scumbag. I do. But I don't care if he's a scumbag. I care if he's a good coach. It's not my business. If he did something terrible, that's different. But using words that were always considered locker room talk, half the country just elected Donald Trump to be the fucking president. What? What? Does anybody remember what he said? And we're going to worry about John fucking Gruden from 10 years ago? Coaching a football team? Get out of here. Sorry, Jay. That's my opinion.
It's okay. I mean, I get what you're saying. And parts of it I do agree with. But
are we looking for any reason to call somebody racist now?
But, Aaron, the problem that I have, once again, you're talking about the NFL. You and I had a show not too long ago where they had the big – well, it never became a big story, which I'm still shocked to this day why it hasn't been a bigger story, but about the NFL with the race norming issue. I mean, that to me is disgusting.
That was a bigger story.
All right, but this –
it barely was mentioned.
All right, and this is – but so that's where I'm hitting at, Aaron. Where I have a problem is that the bigger problem is the NFL and the hypocrisy. They're running a multi-billion-dollar, corporation, and they're allowing these kind of things under their own watch. But yet, John Gruden, kind of makes some comments, and they don't have his back. And like you said,
I'm not saying they necessarily should have had his back. He said terrible things.
I'm not saying that.
Fired or forced to resign.
Listen. I agree.
Here's my opinion. If you're going to have DeShaun Jackson basically get told, hey, go to some sensitivity classes, then you should do the same for John Gruden. You don't have to like the guy. But he also has the first openly gay player on his roster. What's his face? I forgot his name off the top of my head. The first openly gay player in the NFL is a Raider that played with John Gruden, not his coach.
I mean, I understand where, like I said, I understand where you're coming from. Thank you, Fred, by the way. I just think that the NFL is the problem. And nobody is going after the NFL. Because who wants to raise their hand and say something? Because, it's the money. But I think that's the bigger issue. I think it's being missed because, what happened? Why is Daniel Snyder still running they're not the Redskins, the Washington football team? Talk about a guy that's disgusting.
Well, that's a good point, too. Like, why is John Gruden like the lightning rod when it was an investigation into Dan Snyder that got John Gruden in this trouble, but the only one getting in any trouble is John Gruden? It was an investigation into the Washington football team.
And that's my point.
I agree. I agree. There's inconsistencies and there's hypocrisy. 100%. I agree 100% with that.
I think a lot of people don't want to admit that cancel culture exists. And obviously, you just hit on a lot of things that proves that it does. But I don't think we can ignore the fact that there was emails. Because to me, that's the bigger thing. Like when somebody says something, it's bad enough. But when there's a paper trail, it kind of makes it almost impossible to ignore, and it's easier to fire somebody when there's it's on paper, dude.
But Jay, here's the thing though. That's all true. But why him? Here's the thing. DeShaun Jackson's had a trail too. He posted it on Instagram. And in fact, to take it a step further, DeShaun Jackson posted it on Instagram for millions of people to see. John Gruden's email was private between 2 or 3 guys.
Okay.
It's only public because they made it public now.
And you're just proving my point.
How?
Of my opinion. Because you just said there's a double standard.
I'm agreeing with the double standard. But I'm saying you're saying, oh, it's a fireable offense because it was an email. No, make your mind. I'm agreeing it's a double standard. We're on the same
Aaron,
team here. What I'm saying
yeah,
is,
Aaron,
what?
what I'm saying is, if I did that in my job, I would have been fired. So to me, yes, it is a fireable offense.
Here's the thing. You may be right.
You
may be right because that would have been your company culture. But what is the NFL's company culture? We're agreeing here. I don't think you realize we're actually agreeing. We agree. Your company culture would state that that's a fireable offense where you work. Obviously, that's not the same standard that the NFL holds because John Gruden is becoming the victim of an investigation that in the beginning had nothing to do with him, but yet the people who were being investigated are still not being punished. And like I bring up the DeShaun Jackson, I don't know if I'm saying Watson Jackson, DeShaun Jackson example again, when he posted the shit on social media about Hitler and supporting in the anti-Jewish rhetoric, that was public and the NFL did nothing about it. So where was the company culture consistency? We're actually agreeing here. But my other point is, if that's the way it is, then be consistent about it. And if one guy's just going to say, hey, go get sensitivity training, do the same thing for this guy. And at the end of the day, again, to me, here's the thing, though. One other point. If you did do this at work, you'd get in trouble. But how would anybody know about it if it was a private email between you and one other person? That's something that's got to be considered here, too. It's not like you sent like an email blast to everybody at your company. Like, that's not what John Gruden did. It's a private email that was like hacked in an investigation.
Yeah.
He went back through all these freaking emails from 10 years ago. And my point is, did he really say anything wrong? It was like I'm not saying it was appropriate, but it was something that we all have said in our lives. How many kids on a football field say, hey, you FAGGOT, like in the years past? Obviously, we live in a more sensitive culture now. I get it, and that's a good thing. But let's not forget that everybody says the same shit or has said the same shit, and they're throwing stones from glass houses, and one guy is taking the fall. You know what I'm saying? There are differences here. There are differences. If you went in your place of employment and said something publicly about the boss that everybody knew about and called him that, I could totally see you getting fired. John Gruden just sent a private email, and I don't know. It's my thought. If you want to call it a fireable offense, that's fine. But then other people should be punished for the same things. You have guys in the NFL that have shot people. You have Ray Lewis in the Hall of Fame who may have killed somebody.
Once again, that's my point.
I agree.
If you want my honest opinion, yes, DeShaun Jackson should have been cut by the Eagles, and he wasn't.
Under the standard here, he should have been suspended.
Well, no, he should have been cut, and suspension.
And then blackballed from the league, because that's what's going to happen to John Gruden.
Aaron, I agree, but that's my point. I don't think the NFL does a shitty job with, its discipline. It really does. That's just my opinion. You can, argue it if you want, but I think they do a shitty job. I mean, prime example. I get it, dude. I get it. Innocent till proven guilty. But DeShaun Watson, and that's something we'll be getting into. Speaking of DeShaun Watson, that's our next topic. But, what's happening there? I know it's because they're waiting for the legal process, but once again, should John Gruden have had a legal process? I don't know. I agree, dude.
John Gruden didn't do – okay, well, it's apples and oranges now. John Gruden didn't do anything illegal. He just did some shit that offended some people.
But my point is, I think you agree with me, and maybe I'm not.
I totally agree with you. I guess why wasn't John Gruden given the opportunity to just apologize like so many other people have been? And why is the media then looking back and digging up and saying, oh, the Raiders had 80% black players, but by the time John Gruden was in his third year of coaching, they only had 67%. That means he's automatically a racist.
Because that's what the media does, dude. I mean, but
they only do it in one way.
Is that anything new to you? That's not. It shouldn't be new to you.
It's obviously not. It's just I'm tired of it.
I agree. I'm frustrated
I'm tired of cancel culture, dude.
Why is Daniel Snyder still? Why does he still have a team?
He shouldn't have a job. I mean, honestly. Anyway, let's move on. You just mentioned DeShaun Watson. Let's get into it a little bit. Obviously, everybody that watches the show knows I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. If you haven't been under a rock for the last couple of days, I'm sure you've heard. The big news is that supposedly the Dolphins and Texans are in serious talks now about a trade to send DeShaun Watson to Miami, and I'm assuming it would include Tua and probably some first-round picks. And, dude, as a Dolphins fan, I am totally against this. I'm not denying DeShaun Watson's talent, but, dude, this guy has just as equal a chance of going to prison as playing in an NFL game again. Why would you give up the farm for this guy? Why? And the Dolphins are doing it out of desperation because they're 1-5. So it's clearly a desperation move because they would have done it 5 weeks ago if it was what they really had wanted to do. So just stop. Hold it up. I'm totally against this. And, here's the thing. Again, DeShaun Watson is innocent until proven guilty. But the NFL hasn't suspended him. But if the allegations are true, they're 1,000 times worse than anything John Gruden did. So, and the NFL hasn't made any decision about what they're going to do. They're going to let the investigation go. Come on. I mean, I'm not saying to suspend the guy because he's innocent until proven guilty. I'm sure he will be suspended if anything comes out about this. But all I know is I don't want him going to the Dolphins. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, from an outsider's perspective, I'm totally in agreement with you. I think it's ridiculous. I mean, you're talking to an Eagles fan who there's been plenty of links to the Eagles with Deshaun Watson as well. I mean, I know the latest one is the Dolphins, but my point is Deshaun Watson's been rumored to the Eagles quite often early before, when this thing first went down.
We both have Alabama quarterbacks, Tua and Jalen Hurts.
I mean, yeah, there's the connection too. I mean, I didn't think of that.
Yep.
But no, I mean, to me, I'm sitting here thinking like, being an Eagles fan and just looking at like Miami and, you use the term desperation. Like, not only is it desperation, but to me, how would the optics look to you when Houston has not allowed Deshaun Watson to play? Say Miami does make this trade and all of a sudden he's allowed to play. How's that going to look to everyone across the league, fans and other players and other teams? When Houston basically is, I'm not saying that they pretty much are punishing him without punishing. They're not letting him play because they know it's serious allegations, but he hasn't obviously went through the legal process. Now he goes to Miami, and it's funny because we're in a fantasy football league together. For those that don't know, we've talked about it a couple of times, but there was a guy in our league that right away jumped and picked up Deshaun Watson. I mean, to me, it's absolutely stupid. But then it got me thinking, like, what if Miami did make this trade and then they want him to play? Because, as you said, it's desperation.
Well, I mean, you make a very good point. What are the optics? Now, I disagree a little bit with the Texans not letting him play solely because of the allegations. I don't think that's true. I think you're giving the Texans a little too much credit. I think that adds to it, but I think it's also because he wants to be traded. I think the allegations just made it a no-brainer. But you still make a very, very good point. The optics do not look good. It makes it look like, hey, we don't give a shit what this guy may have done. And especially you're going to trade all this talent for him or potential talent and draft picks. It's crazy to me. I don't know why they would do it. I don't.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, this guy could do prison time. I mean,
at the very least, he could be suspended. At the worst,
let's be real here. Let's be real. I remember when the Eagles back in the day signed Michael Vick. But the difference between Michael Vick and Deshaun Watson, Michael Vick did prison time. He did his time.
He had served his time.
Correct.
Yeah, it was over.
Deshaun Watson hasn't even went through the process yet. So we could, just say Miami did make the trade and they weren't going to play him. It could be the end of this year before that process even happens. And then say he does get in trouble and go to jail or prison. It could be a disastrous trade all the way around. To me, I think any team that does make a deal for him before the process is over is either, I don't want to say brain dead because I don't know if that's the nicest term to use, but I mean, it's pretty much mind-boggling. Like, if a team does this, they either have done their homework to the point where they kind of have a knowledge that he's not going to go to prison and that, maybe
suspended.
He'll be at least fit. Well, no, but I mean, if it's a suspension, he's still young. So even if it was a year.
Yeah, but even a year is a long time in the NFL, dude.
No, I get that. Listen.
It's not Major League Baseball, dude. A year is like a year in the NFL, especially for a guy that runs. Dude, we're not talking about Tom Brady here. We're talking about a guy that takes hits. He's already had leg injuries.
Deshaun Watson. Yeah, like I said, dude, I don't want him. I mean, if the Eagles did that, I would be at this point. I would be so mad, and I can understand your frustration as a Dolphins fan because, well, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, you pretty much hit on it. Like, and not only are they talking about trading for him, I mean, I'm hearing like, what the kind of compensation would be. You're talking multiple first rounders and Tua. Like, that's crazy.
That's crazy, bro.
As bad as Tua has been, dude, he's still.
Can I chime in on that for a minute? Because that's been getting talked about a lot, even in our group text, in our fantasy league. Bro, I'm tired of people saying as bad as Tua has been. Bro, now, and because Tua has actually been pretty damn good career-wise. Granted, it's a small sample because he didn't play until midseason last year coming off the hip injury in college. And then this year, he missed a few games with the injury. But, dude, his career stats, now granted, he's done a lot of dink and dunk, check down Charlie type shit, but he was a rookie last year. You saw him last week. He started like throwing a lot more, going downfield to Gesicki a lot. So, I mean, he's a work in progress. He's 23 years old in his second season. But I want to give you the career stats on Tua here. Last year, he had 1,814 passing yards, 11 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions, 109 rushing yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. And that was in like 7 games. This year, he's got 544 passing yards in 2 games, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. In what world are those awful stats? Dude, Peyton Manning in his rookie year had like 15 touchdowns and 30 interceptions.
28 interceptions, yes. What?
Bro, I'm not saying Tua's Peyton Manning, but I'm tired of this fucking false narrative that Tua's been terrible. I'm a Dolphins fan. I watch. He has not been terrible at all. Well, and if anything, part of the reason that might have fed that narrative was the Dolphins last year having the success they had early in the year with Ryan Fitzpatrick. And then in a couple of games where Tua did struggle a little bit, which let's not forget he was a rookie, that rather than let him go through those struggles and finish the game, Flores brought in Ryan Fitzpatrick kind of like as a closer almost, like a baseball closer. He'd come in and close games. So if anything, that fed the narrative. But it's a false narrative. And I'm not going to go so far as to call the guy injury prone yet. I'm not saying he won't be. And I'm not saying I'm a huge Tua guy. I'm not. The jury's still out. But the false narrative that he's injury prone and that he's bad are ridiculous. He had a bad hip injury in college. To my knowledge, that was the first real injury he had. He came off of that injury. So, of course, he didn't come booming into the NFL. Let's not forget Pat Mahomes as a rookie. Let's not forget Patrick Mahomes as a rookie sat on the sidelines and watched Alex. I almost forgot one of my favorite players' names. Alex Smith for a year. Dude, Tua could have sat the whole year last year, and we wouldn't be having this conversation. He didn't. They brought him in mid-season. The false narrative that Tua's been terrible is ridiculous. And again, I'm not saying Tua's the guy. He could be the guy. I'm saying the jury's still out. The people that are saying Tua's not the guy, that's way premature. And I'm totally against this DeShaun Watson trade.
And not to get off the subject, but, real quick to kind of chime in on that. It's just kind of crazy that you and I are in the same situation because Jalen Hurts, Alabama connection, like you said, is in this. Jalen Hurts and Tua are kind of going through the same criticism.
Yeah, I've seen the criticism lately in the Eagles fan base with Jalen Hurts. Yeah.
And honestly, to me, it's mind-boggling because to me it's too early. And once again, how can you really critique a player when the coaching's been bad? Because if you look at the Dolphins and the Eagles, both coaches have been bad this year. I mean, Brian Flores I'm disappointed in.
The coaching in Miami has been awful. And it's partly because there's like five guys giving input, 3 offensive coordinators. It's out of control. I mean, if you saw the game last week, the challenges that Flores was told to make were ridiculous. But anyway, I agree with you. Moving on. What do we got? Ben motherfucking Simmons. Jay, I know you're pissed. Why don't you get us started with this? What's going on?
I mean, pissed is an understatement. Like this
guy's a clown.
I gotta be honest with you, dude. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing as a Philadelphia fan to have an athlete at this point, at this level. Like, honestly, the Ben Simmons saga, because that's what we'll call it, is the craziest situation I have ever lived with. And I lived through T.O. doing sit-ups in his parking lot. Remember that?
That might have been crazier, but yeah.
No, well, that was, I mean, honestly, he was just ahead. He was out there. I love T.O. as a
meeting
player.
in his front yard while he was doing
He was out there.
was pretty nice.
But once again, the T.O. thing was over money. You just wanted to be paid. Okay, this Ben Simmons, he's already been paid. And that's part of my problem. The guy got
why
his
don't you
bag.
tell us what's going on a little bit? Tell the audience what's going on before you get into your thoughts.
I mean, everybody that's in the Philly audience obviously already knows.
They know. I know.
Pretty much, Ben Simmons is, a star player. We know the Sixers drafted him high. He was, a first-round pick. Got loads of talent, but he's just never kind of put it together like to become what he should. And part of the problem is he doesn't work to get better. He doesn't work at his game to get better. Anyway, needless to say, he wants out of Philly because he doesn't like it here. It's tough. He doesn't want to deal with the fan base. Basically, it's pretty much a guy that got his bag, and now he wants to make his decision where he goes. And we've talked about this how many times now, Aaron, about these athletes and the mentality, across all leagues, where these players are now, it's become an epidemic now at this point, where they just basically want to pick where they want to play.
Well, dude, think about it. Ben Simmons was a number one pick by the Sixers, in 2016? Now, they've paid him a fortune. What has he got, a $400 million contract?
$400 million.
Bro, and then in the playoffs, he choked last year. He had that open dunk he didn't take. Eagles fans went down on him hard. I get it. But Philly fans are hardcore to passionate fans. I saw a great article, Jason Kelsey. Did you see the comments from Jason Kelsey?
Yes, I did.
Eagles legend. He basically said, Philly will love you if you just try hard and play better. People are going to go through struggles, but if the fans see that you're trying to get through these struggles, they're going to love you. And when you have success, they're going to cheer for you. Philly's a great sports town. That's what he said. And Ben Simmons just doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. He got criticized by the fans, and then he just cries about it, and he makes them come down on him harder. And then the byproduct of that, he just doesn't want to play. The other day in practice, he was saying, I'm not going to do a drill. You're not going to do a drill? They're not paying you? I saw Charles Barkley comment on it. He said, if I'm running the Sixers, I'm not sending him where he wants to go. We're the ones paying you. We have the leverage. So Ben Simmons can, suck it, whatever.
Well, like I said, Aaron, I didn't think it could get any worse. Like, it was already bad coming into the leading up to this past few weeks. Now, Ben Simmons was sitting out. He was fine. He was away from the team. So, as the story has it, he all of a sudden came back because he wasn't going to get his money. So that's why we know why he came back.
Oh, yeah, they were fining him like $360,000 a game. Am I right?
Yes. So he obviously, they were each game. Yes, it was $360,000. So he obviously came back for one reason. He doesn't want to lose out on the money, but he doesn't want to play. The coach tells you to do a drill, and you say no. He tells you again to do a drill. Could you imagine if you or I told our boss? Oh, I know you're your own boss, but imagine if I told my boss. He told me, "Oh, Jason, I need you to go build a display or something," and I said no. Come again? Like, really, dude? Like, I mean, it's your job, dude. And that's my problem with this. Like, it's the entitled, spoiled brat mentality, because that's what he is. He's a spoiled freaking brat.
And now he's faking an injury.
I hope you hear me, Ben Simmons. And you know what? You lost every single fan. I was a Ben Simmons apologist. I love the guy. Dude, talk about a guy that went from being like loved to absolutely hated. At this point, anybody that's sticking up for Ben Simmons, either A, as you said, lives under a rock, or B, is a troll and just trying to play devil's advocate to
try to rile people up.
Exactly. Yeah. Because how can you defend this guy? The guy it's despicable what he's doing. Like, come on, man. Jason Kelsey hit it on the head. Dude, you want to be liked, Ben? How about you call a press conference and say, you know what, guys? I'm in the wrong.
That would be a big thing.
Man. Dude, do you know how many fans would probably be like, wow, this guy, like, out of nowhere, like, that would be the right thing to do. Like, if you wanted to fix things and still, get your way and be traded. But you're right, dude. At this point, the Sixers, Charles is 100% right. The Sixers hold the cards. Daryl Morey had a press conference today and basically said, this could go on for 4 years. I am not trading Ben Simmons for nothing.
Yeah.
He's a top tier player. He has the top tier talent. He hasn't played up to that potential, but we're not trading him for nothing. So either A, Ben, you're going to get your ass in line and you're going to play and show what you are capable of so we can trade you. Or B, we're going to just keep suspending you because you're being a pansy and it is what it is. And I don't blame them because honestly, this guy, today, dude, how about this one? Who didn't see this coming? Now all of a sudden he has a back injury.
That's what I'm saying. I just said that. He's faking an injury. He said it's wearing on him mentally.
Come on, man. Come on.
I know.
It's just
anyway, brother. Let's get something more positive. We got the MLB playoffs going on. I know me and you both had our pick. We said whoever won the Dodgers Giants NLDS series was our World Series champion pick.
We did.
But now here we are. Dodgers are down 3-1 in the NLCS.
Dude, I got to be honest with you. I'm absolutely falling back in love with baseball. Not as a whole, not with like the issues that me and you have bitched about hundreds of times on the show. The pitching and the what's it called? The openers and that kind of nonsense. Yeah, all that nonsense. But I'm falling in love with the game as far as this playoff series all the playoff series have been so
very exciting.
Like, I haven't got to check out every game, but I've been following it every day as I always do because you and I were baseball purists. Everybody that doesn't know that's both of our favorite sports. But I followed it, and I look at the box scores and I'm reading the articles, and like every game is like back and forth, and every series is back and forth. The Astros, they were down basically to 6 outs away from being 3-1, and they're now winning the series 3-2. How amazing is that?
Dude, I know the Dodgers are down 3-1, but to me, a great, great story in this postseason, especially if the Dodgers can somehow come back and win the series, which, by the way, I'm rooting for them. I don't want to see the Braves win.
Well, you also
want to be right. What's that? I don't care about that. I just don't want to see the Braves. No, but the big thing for me is Cody Ballinger, after hitting 160 this year, that home run he hit the other night to tie the game was special. That was a special 3-run. They were down 5-2. He hit that home run in like the 8th inning, tied it 5-5. Then then another runner got on. Then Mookie Betts hit that go-ahead double. They won the game. Then that made the series 2-1, right?
2-1.
Yeah. And then they lost yesterday, so made it 3-1. That was a little bit disappointing. But, Cody Ballinger, what a moment. That erased his season. As far as his bad season. What's that?
Yeah, 3-1 because, but the thing is I agree with you that it was a special moment, but I think you're not touching on the bigger story because I know that you just said you don't want the Braves to win, but you got to be at least a little bit, I don't want to say surprised, but you and I before the season, we were talking Mets-Phillies as winning the division, but we always said that the Braves kind of were that outlier.
Yeah, I just don't want them. I'm sick of them.
But you got to admit that every year, dude, the Braves are in it.
Well, I'll tell you this. I blame the Mets for this a lot, too. Dude, the Braves went at the deadline, and they got what? Eddie Rosario. They brought in a bunch of talent at the deadline. That really bolstered their roster and set them up for this run. And the only team to blame for that is the Mets. The Mets were in first place like 100 days. And obviously, and the Phillies made some moves, too, if you recall, at the deadline. They solidified their roster. It didn't work out for them the way it did for Atlanta. But the only reason those teams made the moves that they made were because the Mets proved that they were not capable of running away with that division. If the Mets had taken care of business and pulled away in that division, the Braves and Phillies wouldn't have made the moves that they made. So I blame the Mets every day that the Braves are in the position that they're in. But dude, I think you kind of like swept under the rug what I said. Cody Ballinger just hit 160, bro. He had one of the worst seasons in the history of Major League Baseball, especially considering just 2 years ago he was like a 300 hitter with 45 bombs, 130 RBI, and MVP. And for him to just have that moment that he had the other day was special. To me, it just like erased all the negativity of the season that he had.
Well,
you know?
Well, that's what makes baseball in general special, because you have a guy that did so bad all year and can be a playoff hero. I mean, you got to admit, like, it happens more often to me in baseball and hockey. I see that where the no name or not just necessarily a no name or a guy that, you know, like you said, did nothing all year and then all of a sudden, you know, rises up. And it happens a lot in baseball. I see it a lot. But you're right. Like, it's a good story. But to me, well, selfishly, I'm rooting against the Dodgers, not because of our bet or our predictions.
Well,
but I'm actually rooting for, I hate to say it, but I was rooting for the Red Sox.
I was rooting for the Astros in that series. I love Altuve. For some reason, since he's been like on that team, I just root for them every year. I always root for them to succeed despite the whole cheating scandal. Because I think that's a joke.
Well, that's where I was just going to go. I said, to me, it's hard for me to root for a cheater. Then again,
I have a different perspective on it. I have the same perspective I have for the Patriots. I think sometimes there's witch hunts. All teams look for an edge. All teams steal signs. And I just feel like to single out the Astros for what they did was absurd. And obviously when the Astros win, it just proves, hey, fuck you. We don't need to hit garbage cans. We don't need to steal signs. This is what we're capable of doing, and you're not going to take it from us. And I think it vindicates them. So I do root for them. Well, I'm not one of these guys that jumps on the cheating bandwagon all the time. Oh, Tom Brady, he deflated the balls. Really? What's he done since? That's what I look at. So I root for the Astros, but that's just me.
Well, no, and I get what you're saying. Like, I guess, you know, if there's one thing that's kind of, you know, another good story of the Astros, to me, it's Carlos Correa. Because here's a guy that's in a contract year. You know the guy's going to get paid, and he's having a massive postseason. Like, yep. I love Carlos Correa. I love him on the Phillies, to be honest.
Excellent player, man.
I mean, listen, talk about a team that's developed talent. Houston Astros, almost every single one of their star players, besides like Justin Verlander, and well, obviously Garrett Cole when he was there, is homegrown. How impressive is that? Like Altuve, Correa, Bregman. They traded the guy. Who's the guy they traded? That's not even there. Is on the Blue Jays.
Springer.
Yep. I mean, dude, talk about a team that's churned out player after player. And you know what's crazy about that Astros team and the players that are in this prime now? Do you know who actually was kind of responsible for that team?
Who?
A former Phillies GM.
Oh, yeah.
Ed Wade. Yes, a guy that was true. Like totally ridiculed in this town.
That's
like
very
we
true.
Hated him. We fucking hated Ed Wade.
That's true. That's very true.
We couldn't get rid of him fast enough. He went to Houston, and now look at Houston. I mean, they're like, there's just teams in all these leagues now that are like kind of like, you know, I don't want to say dynasties, but like
they're perpetual winners. They have a great culture.
Yes,
they have a great culture, like the Cardinals. Yeah. The Cardinals have the best culture in Major League Baseball. Not the Yankees. It's actually the Cardinals. The Cardinals are there every year, and then with a middle of the road payroll. Best culture in the sport. Anyway, brother, we're running short on time. Let's get to the picks
of the week.
Anyway, brother, who's going first?
You, as always.
All right, dude. I got a great pick of the week. I know we did the Ben Simmons talk this week. So on that note, my pick of the week has a little bit of a Philly connotation. I know I've talked about dirty looks on the show in the past. I think one time my pick of the week was Cool from the Wire, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. The album Cool from the Wire by Dirty Looks came out in like 88. Had some great tracks on it. You know, Oh Ruby, Cool from the Wire. Can't take my eyes off of you, no matter what I want to do. So many great tracks. A lot of people think it's actually one of the greatest albums of that era, even though it doesn't get the hype of some other records. And it was really their only big album that had any MTV airplay. Anyway, so, the Dirty Looks is a band that came up in Erie, Pennsylvania. Lead singer, Henrik Ostergaard. He's Danish born, just like Lars Ulrich from Metallica. He was in a cover band called Crossfire in Erie. He ended up forming Dirty Looks. And they ended up in Philadelphia when they got their major label deal. And they ended up, like I said, Cool from the Wire was their big record. And then, they kind of toiled around. They broke up and they got back together. Anyway, Ostergaard started putting out tons of records under the Dirty Looks moniker over the years. And in 2008, they actually released 2 records, Super Deluxe and California Free Ride. And my pick of the week is actually the Super Deluxe album. Bro, this album is insane. It's Dirty Looks, Super Deluxe. This is a record that actually harkens back to the Cool from the Wire sound. Dude, in 2007, Airborne came out, which is another band I like a lot. They have like a real AC/DC sound. Dude, in 2008, Dirty Looks Super Deluxe came out, and nobody knew about it. And it was like better than Airborne's debut album that was a pretty big hit. They have the same type of sound, like a very AC/DC sound, but like a little harder edge to it and a little bit faster. And dude, I mean, every song on this record is great. Every single song. There's not a bad song on the Super Deluxe album. My favorite song on the album is Forever. It's like a mid-tempo song. Another great song is Dead Movie Star. Anyway, check it out. The album is Dirty Looks Super Deluxe. It's like AC/DC meets Airborne, real sleazy, hard rock. And it's so freaking good. It's so freaking good. Let me give you a little sample, if I may. Dirty Look, Super Deluxe. Check it out. My pick of the week.
I definitely hear the AC/DC in there. I love it.
It's like AC/DC, but like more of a sleaze rock.
Airborne,
It's like that
perfect.
80s sleaze rock vibe. It's like AC/DC meets Hanwha Rocks meets Guns N' Roses. And meets Faster Pussycat, if that's possible. But excellent band. And a Philadelphia band. So
well, that's cool that you picked the Philadelphia tie-in.
Yep.
So anyway, I love it. I liked your pick of the week a lot. I always like your picks of the week.
What do you got, Jay? Let's see.
Well, mine's gonna actually blow you away because you know how I always have my stable of, reasons behind my pick of the week. Well, this week I'm kind of going out of my comfort zone, so I hope you're proud of me. I actually did a little homework and I did a deep dive. And that's what's good about Amazon because, in these streaming platforms where you can actually just like plug in a search. So I kind of just put in search, metal, and new music. And I came across this band that I'm absolutely blown away by. So my pick of the week is actually the band. They only have 2 albums. They only have an EP, and then they just released their debut full-length album in this summer. But the band is called Caskets.
Okay.
They're an English band. Phenomenal, dude. Honestly, when I listened to their material, I was absolutely floored at how great they are. So if I could give you a band that they kind of remind me of, it's kind of a cross between Linkin Park, Bullet for My Valentine, and 30 Seconds to Mars, like all kind of combined. Like,
okay.
So the singer, if you hear this singer, he sounds almost like a spitting image of Chester Bennington and Matt Tuck. Like if you took their voices and combined them.
Bastard Child, yeah.
it's unbelievable, dude, how great his vocal range is. And like the thing that I always liked about Linkin Park and Chester Bennington, like I obviously I always loved their how when their first album came out, it was like a lot of the rap kind of, the rhyme in the beginning or whatever. But I always enjoyed Chester when he actually sang, those really good melodies and the slower songs that he did because his voice just comes out. Well, that's what this guy does. Like this guy, his name's Matt Flood. He's the lead singer. So anyway, the first album came out in 2019. It's called Ghost Like You. It's a 5-track EP. Dude, when you listen to it, it's like I kind of get like chills because I feel like I'm listening to Linkin Park. Like I'm
gonna have to listen to this,
dude. I'm telling you right now, this band. I can't believe I haven't heard of them. I can't believe I hadn't heard more of them. And I guess it's because they're an overseas band. But dude, like this is one of those bands that like how like you and I we'll find something we're like, oh my god, it's like an amazement of like what I'm missing. Mm-hmm. So anyway, their next album, which came out this summer, it's called Lost Souls. It's an 11-track full-length album. And every track, it has like that ethereal openings, like where they're like real, like kind of slow. And they're not really a heavy band. And you know what I like about them? They're kind of like, they're the metalcore style, but they don't have the emo sounding lyrics. Like it's singer. So that's what I like about it. So that's my picks of the week. Pick of the week. The band is called Caskets, formerly called another name, but they had to change their name because copyright issues. Apparently, there was another band in Australia that had the same name. It was the Captives. So they changed their name to the Caskets. But the album that I want to highlight is Lost Souls, which just came out. And the album actually is written all about mental illness. All four of the guys in the band struggle with mental illness, and they put it to music. So that's my pick of the week. Check it out.
I love it, dude. I'm going to check it out. Anyway, everybody, we want to thank you for checking us out again. Don't forget our sponsors at Manscaped, manscaped.com. Use promo code SNM, just like up in the corner. Oh, wrong corner. There. The letters S&M. Use promo code S&M at checkout. You're going to get 20% off plus free shipping. Also at Lots of Rain watches. Use promo code S&M. You're going to get 10% off at checkout. And also don't forget to visit our website, www.sportsandmetal.com. There you can find all previous episodes. You can check out our blog, and you can check out our other podcast, And the Gavel Will Rock, which we should be having a new episode come out soon. And don't forget to check out all our socials. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, your mother's ass, at Sports and Metal. Anyway, we want to thank you again for watching. As always, this is Aaron Savage and Jason Voorhees signing off. Rock on.
Peace out.
And that's our show. Tune in next time for more Sports and Metal with Jason Voorhees and Aaron Savage. Woo, yeah! Got something to say? Hit us up at sportsandmetal0423 at yahoo.com or on Twitter at